Dear students, good morning and welcome to the Industrial Property Law course. So that's HOE 6065. And well, we were talking about trademarks last time. So there was a big discussion about the different types of, well, not really a discussion. I was the one talking all the time about it, about what are good trademarks. And so we are looking at Article 4 currently of the Trademarks Directive. And as you can see, it contains a lot of essential descriptions about what sort of trademarks are acceptable or not. So, well, this is just, of course, one of the articles. There's one more, Article 5, which also deals with this topic. But Article 4 is of special relevance because it gives absolute grounds for refusal of registration. And since this is a pure law course, as I have explained to you in the past, we will be looking at each and every article, every wording, everything in detail. So nothing escapes this time. And well, we'll also be looking at case laws. So that's an essential element. And because, this is a pure law course, you need to know all these case laws as well. And if you were to look in Moodle, I have put these case laws up. There's a special folder for them, trademark case laws. And then similarly for patents, there'll be case laws and for the other subjects as well. So last time we were looking at distinctiveness and what is distinctive. So again, not very easy to explain as a concept. So there are two specific cases over here that are of relevance. So there's Windsurfing Shemzi Productions, and I have put this up also in the folder, so you should have no problems checking it out. So the Shemzi case is, of course, a very interesting case. Now there is a lake in Bavaria, and it's called Shemze, and it's the largest lake over there. Yeah, so it's a large lake and 80 square kilometers, so that's quite big. And then, of course, you have different towns all around the lake because it's so big. Now, it's important to note over here that there was this shop, Windsurfing Shemze, so a sports shop, and so they had this trademark, and so it's a picture trademark with various graphic designs, and then words such as Shemze jeans, windsurfing, Shemze activewear. So this is one person, one entity, and they're using this series of trademarks. And now somebody else on the other side, Huber, sells T-shirts and sweatshirts, and he's in some other town near the shores of the Shemze Lake, and so his clothes bear the designation Shemze. Now, of course, this is very different from the windsurfing Shemze trademarks, but the key element here is the name, yeah, Shemze. So basically, who owns the name of the lake? Now, yeah, this can be very complicated as an issue because, as we saw in Article 4, geographical descriptions are not acceptable as trademark precisely for this reason. Because, in Finland, you have the Baltic Sea, Estonia has the Baltic Sea, Poland has the Baltic Sea, Germany has the Baltic Sea. So they're all around, the Baltic Sea. And so of course, you cannot monopolize and say, no, the Baltic Sea only belongs to Estonia or only belongs to a certain trademark owner in a certain part of some country. So a very interesting case, and especially paragraphs 44 to 53, they deal with this whole issue of distinctiveness and when does a mark acquire a distinctive character through use. And as you remember, we had spoken about this previously also in the Article 4. There are some exceptions, and as lawyers, it's the funny thing. You read all the law, all this big stuff, and that's not the relevant part. What's relevant often is the exception clause. And the exception clause would outline that yes, upstairs, blah, 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 whatever, may not always apply because of certain reasons. And as we know, use of a trademark can make a lot of difference. And I think I even mentioned this last time. Finnair obviously would not match the criteria, just like Finlandia vodka, for example. But yeah, it can work out simply because it's been used for such a long time that it's okay. So you bend the law sometimes because of external factors. So a good case law to learn and to read, Old and Gold. There are some newer cases also that I've been putting up, but of course, many of them, quote the older cases. And this particular case is from the late 1990s. It's from 2000 actually. So 21 years old, which in legal terms is not really that old. Yeah. I remember, we would quote even some 100-year-old cases. Yeah, some things are just so basic that they lay the foundation. Now, of course, this is a very peculiar common law tradition which you would see in Britain, in the UK, and then USA, Australia, Canada, India, and any these English law countries, or countries which have been inspired by English law. So this is a tradition which is picking up more and more in the continental European system. And so, well, you have these cases from the Court of Justice of the European Union, and they all play a relevant role sometimes to help students to understand what we are talking about. So the next case that is often spoken about is this Phillips case, Phillips versus Remington, and it's a very path-breaking case. It goes with regard to shape, and now this is of course interesting because, well, for men, yeah, if you want to shave, or even for women, how do you shave? You have this razor and then you shave. Yeah, so it's got these blades, and you put soap or whatever, and then you shave. Now, of course, that's some old school thing which still goes on. But in the 1960s, there was a lot of interest in these, how would you say, mechanical shavers. So it's like a machine. It's got this little engine with a battery, and then of course the blades run, and now you just run it over here across your face, or wherever, and then you shave yourself. Shaving more is like you cut the hair in a very minute way so that nothing is left. Yeah, like this. See, nice and shaved. Yeah. And of course, with this, with these motor razors, electric razors, you don't make it wet or anything, so that would be stupid. You don't put soap and then you use an electric razor. No, that's not how it works. These are dry. You don't make them wet or something. And of course, this is something that has been around for quite some time. Picked up, did well, but I don't know. Men, at least the people I know, still prefer to shave the old school way. Now, what happened was that Philips, European company, has been very devoted towards innovation, and so they came up with this sort of razor, yeah, but it had 3 blades. So I'm just drawing this here. So you hold it over here, and then it goes, yeah, and it's got 3 rotary heads. So somehow that's good. But of course, you have to be aware of the fact that this is your face you're talking about, and if it's not properly designed, the blades could end up chewing parts of your skin and leaving horrible scars and injuries. So there's a lot of science that goes into it. Anyway, well, that's what Philips was very proud of. So they made it up in the 1960s, and they were running with it very happily, and selling it. And now in the 1990s, 1995 to be exact, Remington, which was this American company, they made a lot of things. They made typewriters, they made rifles, they made all sorts of stuff. I think they are pretty much shut now. So they came up with a similar design, yeah, and they started selling this. Now, this is where the problem starts. As far as Philips was concerned, they had applied for a trademark, and so they had got this trademark, which is a graphical representation. So it's a drawing, yeah, of this. and it had Philips written down, and so that's what they were very pleased about. And so now when Remington came up with a similar design, of course Philips said, no, you can't do that, this is our design because we have a monopoly over it, because only we can use three number these heads, razor heads. If you want to use, you should use 4 or 6 or whatever, but not 3. 3 is ours. We are Philips, we did it first, and it's also on our trademark. Now remember, I told you right in the beginning, this is the holy grail of what lawyers do. You bend the law without breaking the law. And now, obviously something like this, if Philips had got a patent for it, it would last for 20 years. If Philips had got a design for it, it would last for whatever, 25 years or so. But no, Philips got a trademark of this photo or of this drawing. And they said, now because of this, nobody else can use a similar design, which would have meant a very weird situation, because this would mean that Philips has a monopoly forever and nobody else can make a 3 rotary head razor blade system. So of course Remington said, no, that's not how the law works. And so of course this became a very important case. It's a case that keeps on being quoted every so often. Even in some other cases that I put up, Lint versus Haribo and all of these, it always comes up. It's one of the foundational cases in a way. So this is that Philips versus Remington case, and again paragraphs 51 to 65. Pay focus on those, attention on those, but of course you have to read the full case law. And some of these are 17 pages, 20 pages, 25 pages. But hey, the more you read, the better it is, because you get different ideas and you get to understand how the law is working in many fields. And of course, these are judgments from the from the Court of Justice of the European Union. So that's a very relevant thing. Just be happy I'm not putting also the opinions of the attorney generals and all. Yeah, that would get a bit too much. So that's a more of a civil law thing. That's not relevant under common law. In common law, the final judgment is what the judgment is of the court. Nobody cares about what lawyers say. But of course, in the European context, that's a bit different. So when you read these cases, at least these two, I hope you will understand in a more better way as to what is distinctive and how a product can become distinctive or a trademark can become distinctive by using, and what are the limits of this distinctiveness from a trademark law perspective. All right. So I don't know, it's a good sign or a bad sign, but some students some years ago were in a class, and I think it was Professor Tatiana Evans, and so she was talking about European Union law, and then she mentioned some case, and then she asked the students in the class whether they had heard of this case, and they were like, yeah, we know, Pawan spoke about it. And then she asked, okay, so what's the answer? And they said, we don't know, Pawan never gave us the answer. But that's because there is no such thing as a fixed answer in law. That's not how lawyers work. There's black, there's white, and then there's a gray zone, and you can always revisit previous cases and try to differentiate between your particular topic and what was decided in a previous case. And so there are a lot of things that go with it. So that's why unfortunately in this class I don't give you a concrete 100% answer, because there's always leeway. And when you practice law, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So inherent character and what is inherent distinctiveness. Now this came up in the Libertel case, again a very interesting case. For the first time, a trademark applicant wanted to monopolize a color, not a combination of colors, not like a rainbow or a Van Gogh painting or something, but just one color. And then of course this is quite shocking, because if you look at it, if you go to a paint shop, you'll find out that there are 50 shades of yellow, 50 shades of white, 50 shades of gray, 50 shades of green, blue, whatever. But in a realistic scientific sense, the basic colors are what you see in the context of violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. Yeah, and then of course, there are combinations, and then you can have different other colors, but these are the main colors. And so when somebody tries to take a monopoly over a particular color, of course, there are a lot of questions that are raised. So very good case law again to read in this regard. And of course, if you were to check the notes, the other material that I put up in Moodle, there's this guest lecture, and in Germany there was this big controversy about a particular color, and all these colors have their own scientific names, or numbers or something. And I know because I built this house and then had to paint the walls, and yeah, I just wanted white. um, because white is good, Scandinavian in a way, yeah, just white. And no, it's not that easy because there are like hundreds of whites. So of course you have these special specific numbers allotted for even these type of colors, and so that's the scientific way to differentiate between different colors. And this has also been proposed for smells, but I mean, how do you put a numbering scheme for a smell? What is the difference between a strawberry smell and a strawberry dipped in chocolate mousse smell? Yeah, so it gets more complicated as you go into more unusual trademarks. So colors are still okay, but yeah, smells are a different ball game altogether. So what is distinctive? Well, if it can distinguish one trademark from another, then that is the distinctiveness of that trademark. And it's not about being jazzy or extra colorful or extra bright or something, or a neon light or something like that. No, it's just about what is it that makes it different. Yeah. So if you look at Google, it's a good example of distinctiveness. It's just a plain word, invented word, never been around. It's Google, so it's two syllables, easy to pronounce somehow, and yeah, but the same also goes for BMW. Well, these are such strong trademarks that it's shocking that how much they can imply by just the trademark itself. So if it's an Italian sounding name, Ferrari, Maserati, you already know it's all about speed, and then those nice lines and curves and everything. If it's a German sounding name, well, Volkswagen, already okay, this is not the type that will break. But then you have Mercedes, BMW. So all of these have a certain connotation to them, and so distinctiveness is of course what makes it easy to distinguish one product from another product. Yeah, and remember, in the market most of these can be quite similar. Now when you're looking at, of course, trademarks, you should keep in mind certain other factors. Number one is you don't always get a chance to compare one trademark with another. All right, so it's not like always you can compare this with this. That's not how it works. Basically, it's like you're seeing something like this on TV, you want it, and you go to the shop, and now in the shop there are 3 4 of these, and now you have no clue which one you had seen originally, what you had in mind. You may just remember it has some blue color in it or something, and so this is of course an issue to be very careful about. Yeah, but somehow how these things work is also we'll look at some more examples, and then I'll give you more of my crazy ideas about these as well. But remember, a consumer is a person with average intelligence and imperfect recollection. So in that consumer's case, that consumer just knows that there's a T-shirt which has the trademark Shemze on it, and it was worn by his or her favorite athlete. Yeah, the customer doesn't know the details of where, from which shop, what came, etc., etc. So these are important aspects to also keep in mind when we look at confusion or deception and other characteristics besides distinctiveness. So what is distinctive? Also, well, you can see the Yakult Honsha case that's over here, and it states what is the meaning of distinguishing. Again, it's not a concept that can be described in one paragraph. You need to read 8 to 10 pages to sort of understand or begin to understand what this is all about. So the Yakult Honsha case was a classic situation. There's already this the Pfizer, the Pepsi or Coca-Cola bottles, and they have a particular shape, and so everybody accepts that yes, these are distinctive features, and the shape itself is quite impressive. So this, in the case of Yakult Honsha, they have these yogurts in containers, and so they made this container, in a particular shape, and they said, oh yeah, it's a distinctive shape because nobody else sells yogurt in such containers. Everybody sells them in normal bottles, but we have a different type of bottle. And so they said it's just as distinctive as Coca-Cola or Pepsi or whatever, in the context of shape of bottles. And well, of course, the court didn't agree with it, and the court said that this just looks like a stupid bottle and there's nothing special about it, so we don't understand why you are implying that this is amazing. So it's actually a trademark application. So it was decided over there. So again, a lot of interesting elements to read and check about. Then come figurative marks under Article 4, and so your marks cannot have figures on them. Of course, a distinction would be maybe 007 because that's James Bond. So because of use, if that was ever to be a trademark, it could be distinctive. Although it could get you in trouble. If you set up a detective agency and you call it 007, then of course you are asking for trouble because this is the call sign of James Bond. Yeah, so of course numbers are always problematic, and one of the classic examples of this was this chewing gum. And well, so basically what happened here was this company, and they made chewing gum, and so chewing gum with mint, and they decided to call it double mint. Now what does that mean? Well, they said no, it means that usual chewing gums have mint, but we have put double mint. And so the trademark office was, come on, that's crazy, right? I mean, where does this stop? Because next time somebody will say triple mint or quadruple mint or centimint, or millimint and thousand mint, and so much mint that you put in your mouth, you can die of mint over poisoning. So of course, you can't have a number for all of these. And so double mint was not allowed. And again, you can read more about it. So that's figurative marks and why they are a problem in the context of trademarks. And then generic marks like Bravo. So there was this company and they wanted to make pens, pens, and they wanted to name them Bravo. And so of course this matter went up to court, and the court said, Bravo is just Italian for wow. Yeah, so it's like something that's commonly used, and you can't just use a common name or a word and put it in a different context. But again, you see over here, you have to be careful. There are a lot of other features that also play a role here, because we know Apple products. Yeah, so Apple makes mobile phones, and of course Apple already exists. But there's no direct connection between Apple the logo and Apple the mobile phone. Yeah? Whereas in the Bravo case, what the court said was, you write very well as a student in the class, you're young, and then the teacher says Bravo. So there's a connection here because you're being praised for doing something with your pen, and so it was just said that this is not acceptable. So, well, the important element here, of course, is to understand that getting a trademark is not as easy as one thinks. It can be quite complicated. And I've been involved with some companies, and it was quite difficult finding what would be the right name. And then for several years that company was struggling with the perfect logo, and there were some ideas of having an eagle and then something fancy and something else, and now it's completely different. So you can see a transition phase companies go through. They choose a trademark and then they run into trouble, or they don't think it sort of signifies their brand value as well as it should, or the image of the brand. And so there are a lot of changes that occur over a period of time, and then finally the company agrees that they want to have a certain trademark of that particular type. Of course, we'll be talking about this in the course as well, and you could have multiple trademarks every time you have a fancy trademark. You don't have to throw it away, you can always register it and use it. And so you have different cars, for example. So there are some that names that continue, like my wife got this Toyota Corolla, and I remember in the 1980s there used to be Toyota Corolla also. Yeah. So it's the same trademark, but it's just that the company has been changing the product every year. Every 2 years they make a few more changes to it. And if you look at the original Corolla cars, Toyota cars, they were quite boxy and looked a bit weird in the 1970s. In the 1980s they were very popular, and at one point Toyota, I think, was the largest selling car company in the world. And then of course now they have made more changes along the time. Now you have hybrid Toyota Corolla cars, you have hatchback cars, you have sedans, you have all sorts of things. So this is something that happens over a period of time. Now another company that I've been involved with, they want to set up a OTT channel, over the top. It's like your Netflix or whatever. And they've been really trying to figure out what would be a good name for their company. Yeah, and it's not easy because first of all, half the names are taken. You check online and already you have an idea, you think it's a good idea, you go online and it turns out that there is an app with that name, or there is some company somewhere in the world with that name. And because this is all internet based, you have serious problems here. If you don't choose your app name carefully or company name carefully, you end up with a situation where Apple on the App Store or Google and those other stores, they will not list your company name or your product or your software or your app or whatever, and obviously then you can't even market it properly. So you have to take all of this into account. Now, usually how it works in companies is you have the marketing team, you have the finance team, you have all of these fancy people, advertising and everything, brand equity people and all that. And they all have these crazy ideas about what a trademark should be for a possible product or service. And then you are the lawyer, sitting in that room surrounded by all these people, and whatever ideas they come up with, you say no, article 4 says no, no, article 5 says no, no, article 4 1e says no. And then in the end everybody looks at you and they think that lawyers are negative and that you only say negative things and that you are not capable of doing anything positive in life. But that's not the truth. The truth is that, well, there are laws that regulate what sort of trademarks can be registered. So you're not doing anything weird here. You're just telling them that this is the law. So if you try to apply for registration, you won't get a registration, and then all the money goes waste because you have to change the brand name logo over and over again and again. So that's why you need lawyers to understand this in a better way. Now comes shapes, and shapes are of course a very important element, hugely important, and there's a lot of controversy that goes on with them. And basically, of course, a trademark can consist of the shape of the goods or their packaging. Yeah, that's what the definition says. But however, they must overcome certain prohibitions, and these are of course in the public interest, so that everybody is free to use certain shapes. So you cannot monopolize a shape, and this was best seen, for example, here. But there are of course other shapes also that can be quite problematic. and I'll draw an example for you. Now remember, this is a Lego brick, and how these work is you have multiple bricks, yeah, and this shape, and then this shape goes on top over here. See the arrows, yeah? So you put it down, and then of course it sort of holds very tightly. Now these are Lego bricks, and I guess more or less everybody has played with Lego toys as a child, unless you have had a very seriously deprived childhood, which is unfortunate. But yeah, for most people, the first toys they play with are these type of toys. Now, what does the trademark law say? Shapes which result from the nature of the goods, yeah, they are not registrable. So now what would that mean? Let's say there's a banana drink, and so you package it in a banana shaped bottle and it says banana. Well, of course you can't have a trademark banana and the shape of a banana as a bottle for a banana drink, because the nature of the goods themselves. Then there are certain shapes which are required to achieve a technical result, yeah, and that could be, for example, this one, or another example would be, you have these cogs, and um, well, yeah, so you have a bigger cog and a smaller cog, and when this moves, then this also moves, like in a watch or something. And again, these are shapes that are required for the technical result. And if that is the case, then technical result, you need to go and well, you need to apply for a patent or something, because functionality is covered by patent law. And so again, shapes which add substantial value to the goods, yeah, again, so these are all problem parts, and all of these cause a lot of issues. So the Lego brick case, of course, is very popular about this. Philips case again. Then there is this Lindt versus Haribo, and well, I can just draw it for you. So I mean, this is roughly how the bear shaped thing is, and so there was a big fight about who owns the bear, or the shape of the bear, yeah, whether it belongs to Lindt or to Haribo. Yeah, and then next time you go to a shop, you can buy both of them and eat them while wondering what is more distinctive. But they're both bear shaped. Then you also have other problems, and I have mentioned this in one of the in the cases as well. So this is Toblerone, yeah, it has these particular shapes, and so they say that, well, this is the shape of the mountains or whatever in Switzerland. And then it turned out that in Norway, also they have mountains, and so even there they have some similar shaped chocolates. And so the question is, who owns this shape? Yeah, again, very complicated issues that arise with Lego, for example. Although the Lego brick was not allowed, but the Lego shape of a human being was allowed registration. So there's a lot of confusion about a lot of things. So you have to be careful about this. But of course, shape is a very important element, and a lot of shape trademarks have existed, and so a lot of issues do arise with them. Now, sometimes you can, of course, come across some very peculiar situations. So, as you know, in Tartu, they have this kissing students statue. Yeah, it's like a fountain or something. So there's a boy and a girl under an umbrella kissing each other. And so this is a symbol of Tartu or Tartu University or something. And then it turned out that in St. Petersburg there was some housing development, some new houses that came up, and the developer put that copy of that statue over there with a few differences. Then if you look on eBay, or if you look on AliExpress, you see these miniature statues for sale, and so the sculptor, this Estonian guy, his son was studying law in one of my courses, IP law, although he was an engineering student. And so he came to me once to ask for legal advice, and so we were looking into this whole case. And of course, everybody comes to teachers and professors for free legal advice, because that's part of the job, isn't it? Yeah. But anyways, well, So it's a shape, and even if you have a trademark registered or unregistered, or even if you have rights, which would be loosely considered as trademark rights, and not copyright rights. But it's still, there are a lot of facets that go into this. It's not easily sorted out. It can't be like black and white. There are a lot of problems that come up. Then there are public policy and deceptive marks, and then this is something very strange. This is sometimes sounds old-fashioned. What is public policy? What is deceptive? And why should some trademarks be allowed and some not allowed? So, well, of course, public policy would say that drug abuse is not acceptable. So if you have trademarks that are encouraging the use of drugs or slang words for drugs, then of course that's not allowed. So there are some examples of this. And then of course there are some words which are rude or extremely unacceptable in society. But yeah, they all cause problems. Of course, one of the most relevant cases about this was the FCUK case, and that's French Connection, United Kingdom. And so they had these T-shirts for children and teenagers, and it says FCUK, and sometimes FCUK off or me or whatever. And so you have all of these strange things, and well, it's quite rebellious sounding if you're 10 years old, I guess. So they applied for the trademark, and some people objected and said this is a rude word, an obscene word. But yeah, they went through. The trademark office said that yeah, it's okay. It's not such a bad word after all. And there is this other case here. It's a German trademark case. So it says "fuck you." What was that? "Fuck you, Gott." Yeah. And apparently it's a German thing, and it was a TV series, and it was something. And so then somebody applied for the trademark, and of course it sounds it sounds as bad as it actually is. And so this matter went to court, and the Court of Justice of the European Union. And so they have to decide whether this is good or bad as a trademark. And then they said it's okay in German languages. It's okay, and it's not such a bad deal anymore. So of course this can be quite problematic, because sometimes then there have been other trademarks which have not been allowed. So there was CNUT, and the trademark office said like we can't accept that as a trademark. So a lot of issues that arise. And one relevant case is this Gazillions trademark case. And I understand it was the trademark tiny penis for children's clothing. Yeah, well, and of course that's a problem area. So you can't have little children, 6-month-old boy wearing tiny penis t-shirt. So of course this got in trouble. So this morality thing, public policy, deceptiveness, this can be quite a problem area. So you have to be very careful about these things. But let's stop here today, because I want to spend some more time explaining deceptiveness and cyber squatting and bad faith next time. There are issues that are coming back. People thought that they are over, but apparently nothing is ever truly settled in law. Just when you think it's all settled and taken care of, there are no controversies, then new controversies can start sometimes. So we'll talk about them next time. So, well, that's it for today. Thank you for paying attention, and see you soon. Goodbye.